Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas to one and all. I'm here because a friend of mine, Pete Russey, the Mighty Spartan, has asked me to share with you one of his favorite Christmas stories. This is one that he talks about getting his Christmas tree with his family, how they decorate it, and opening presents. Who doesn't like to open presents? So this is the Mighty Spartan's Christmas story. So I'd like to make, he wanted to make sure that I read it right. I relayed it to him the way that he told it to me. So I'm going to read it the way he wrote it. So it can't be, he can't accuse me of saying it the wrong way. So here's his story. It's called about the Christmas tree. I have many pleasant memories of the family Christmas tree. Thinking back on it now, my Christmas tree experience seems more like something Norman Rockwell would paint. I grew up in the 50s and have since seen many Rockwell paintings, so perhaps my memories are somewhat tainted by that. But on the other hand, I really do have vivid memories of my childhood. I really think Norman Rockwell most likely painted things which reflected my life. Besides my mom and dad, there were 5 children in the Russey childhood home. I had 2 older sisters, 1 older brother, and 1 younger sister. We all took part in decorating the Christmas tree one way or another. Christmas was a special time for me. I knew it meant Santa Claus was on his way, but it also meant a trip to the woods with my dad and brother. I was probably 5 through 10 years of age when we would go Christmas tree shopping. That was a very exclusive experience. Only the men of the house could participate, and I felt proud to be included in a man adventure. About 2 weeks before Christmas, Dad would take me and my brother out to the country to pick out our tree. I remember walking with him through the forest of prickly pine trees. Finding our tree wasn't an easy thing to do because the room in which the tree was going had a tall ceiling, probably 12 to 15 feet in height. And at 5 years of age, it seemed like 100 feet tall. The tree we brought home had to be just right, of course. If it was too small, the living room would look funny with a little tree in it. It had to be a large, full tree. But that age, 5 to 10, obviously I had no concept of largeness. Even the little trees were big to me. So to check the largeness of a tree, I would extend my hand up as far as I could and look up. If I couldn't touch the top of the tree, I thought it was big enough. If I couldn't touch the top of the tree, I thought it was big enough. And I would tell my dad to take that one, take that one. Dad would usually tell me the one I picked was not the perfect tree we were looking for. He would then reassure me that the perfect tree was still out there. We just had to go looking for it a little bit longer. The weather was always cold and the snow deep. Back in the 50s, that seemed to be more of the norm. Of course, I was a child back then. I am much older now, so perhaps my memory of that time is a bit gray. We grayer folks tend to remember southern Illinois winters that way. Regardless of the weather, my dad would never cut down the first tree I selected. We would trudge on until he found the perfect tree. Once identified, it was then and only then that Dad would take a saw, not an axe, and started cutting down the gigantic tree. The first year of the adventure, I asked him why he didn't cut that tree down with the axe I knew he had in the garage. He told me the saw cut made the bottom fit better in the tree stand. I'm a dad now, so I really know what he meant. I wasn't much more than a baby, and I couldn't be trusted to be anywhere near that axe. He used a two-man saw, which of course I wanted to be on the other end of. Any young boy would consider that a fun adventure, at least until the fun wore off. Dad would let me try to do it anyway. He knew it wouldn't take long before I would discover that I couldn't do it, or I lost interest in doing it. My bigger brother, who was much older, was able to handle the other end of the saw. But he would stand back and direct Dad and me while we attempted to fall the perfect tree. My brother would patiently wait off on the side until I was satisfied that I couldn't do it and plead for him to take over. He knew, I'm sure, that there would be less of an opportunity for a wine session for me if he waited until I determined the work was too hard. Once I relinquished the saw to my brother, the real cutting began. My new job, as I determined, was to aid them by holding the tree up as they cut. I couldn't understand, though, why they kept telling me to stand back out of the way when all I was trying to do was to be helpful. I guess I was afraid of our Christmas tree falling on them and thought myself strong enough to hang on to it while they got out of the way. I can still remember thinking, this must be what it's like to be a lumberjack. I would shout, "Timber," as the tree fell to the ground. I was Paul Bunyan, and I knew that's what he would yell. After the tree was down, we would drag it out to the trailer, tie it down, and head back home. How we got that giant of a tree through the house door, I don't remember, but it always came through. I was probably more of a hindrance than a help, but Dad and my brother made me feel like I was an important part of the adventure. Now, this is part one of his Christmas experience. I have 2 more parts coming up. The next part is about decorating the tree. So I'll be back with you shortly, and we'll see how the Russeys decorate their gigantic tree.